Hello, I'm Toycat and welcome back to another third channel food review video. I've been in Istanbul for the past week and I'll be here for another week, and I figured why not show you some of the food that I've been eating in Turkey. A lot of people, when they make these food recommendations or what's going on in Istanbul sorts of videos for any country around the world, are like, wow, I've got this revolutionary dish called olives, because right now I'm eating a Turkish breakfast, which apparently means just have everything in the world for breakfast. I like the idea, but is scrambled eggs really new to anyone? Is anyone going to be like, wow, I want to know what Toycat thinks about olives? I'm pretty sure these are. Like, oh, who knows what I'll think about olives and a cucumber. No, these aren't things you're excited for. So instead, this is going to be a food video consisting of things that you probably haven't had in your country. We're going to start with this. It's a spicy form of sausage. It looks like a pepperoni slicer. Common with breakfast. Exactly like it looks like. Has a very, very strong pepperoni-like flavor. In fact, I would even, if you didn't tell me what that was, I'd be like, huh, there's a couple of really thick pepperoni slices there. Super nice, super interesting. If we look at stuff like, oh yeah, over here, we got ourselves some börek. It is a traditional snack in like Southeastern Europe. It's even a vegan one, so there's no cheese in here. What does that mean? Let's find out. Super, super good. But yeah, there are many interesting foods to try in any country around the world, some of which are collections of food, and some of which, like you'll see in today's video, are much more interesting than that, and hopefully we can dive into those with the honest atmosphere of what's actually going on with interesting, unique, actually eaten Turkish food. Because this breakfast is great, but I don't think you could do this too regularly. I say as I dump my little mini pizza-looking thing into a bowl of brown sauce that I don't honestly understand. Huh. I think that's chocolate. I think I just put my mini pizza in chocolate. At the very least it's hazelnut spread or something. Very interesting stuff. But anyway, in this video, let's go through some interesting food from Turkey. So this is midye. It is mussels with, it looks like rice added in, then some extra stuff, some extra sauces, and then there is, in this case, some curry added on top. It looks extremely delicious. I'm very excited to try it. And let's go into this together, because just, if you don't know mussels, it's I don't know what it's classified as. It's some kind of like fishy clam thing. You got a shell that opens up, and then there's like some form of, again, vaguely fish-like meat on the inside. But in this case, we've got some extra things added, and then some curry sauce, which smells so good. Like, you know, curry sauce smell. It smells like the good curry sauce. It was a real curiosity at first. Like again, it's been years since I had mussels. That is seriously, seriously good. Like the mussel by itself, kind of fun flavor. Add in the rice, add in the curry sauce, and oh, I could eat 100 of these, and I might just do that. So let's hit the second one. Maybe that was just the best one I ever had. Maybe the second one doesn't give up to expectations. I don't think you meant to do it this way, by the way, but such a salty flavor. Like again, vaguely fish-like, mixed with something that is vaguely rice-like, and then some curry. Three flavors that are kind of odd by themselves, but go really, really well together. They recommend you add some lemon to these. They even give you a lemon and a particular place in that, midyesi yasin. So let's see if that improves the flavor at all. Because lemon and fish is one of those things I've never liked personally, but maybe I've just never had lemon and mussels. So, I'd say, you know, thing about lemon, could take it or leave it, could live with it, could live without it. But overall, seriously good. This is one of my favorite little, very simple, but very tasty Turkish foods. So, midye. I keep forgetting the name, I haven't looked at the sign. It's over there. Midye, yasin, very tasty, would recommend. I just had a staff member who saw that I was just doing that, and they're like, look, this is what you do. You grab this, use it as a little spoon for the other side. Makes much more sense. Very good. Just want to show you that's how it's done. So this is, it's called a raw food restaurant, but it's basically a meatless meatball that I've got right here. The story behind it's kind of interesting. Something about how they had meatballs that were served with raw meat, but then the raw meat got banned. They're like, what if we made vegan meatballs? So it's a surprisingly vegan snack, as you can see right here. And it's only one Turkish lira. It's very fun. Also, just as a cute little side note, you can see there's a cat eating a plant in the background. I love Istanbul for just these moments. There's just cats everywhere, and like, they're vaguely friendly, but also not too much. Aww. So this is the raw food meatball. I'm gonna very hygienically pet a cat while I eat. Okay. Mmm. It tastes very tomatoey, actually. I was expecting a very meaty flavour. Mmm. This is delicious. This is really, really, really good. Like, for a little snack. Again, I like snacks as a food. I don't like that you don't get to eat 3 meals a day. You can have as many snacks as you want in a day, though. I was convinced this would be going to be good, like in a weird way. This was just good in a normal way. This was just delightful, tomatoey, meaty flavour with no meat. I'm confused. But 10 out of 10. My god. I want another one. So I've come over to the Asian side of Istanbul, and I figured I'd just give a little bit of clarification from anyone else out there who's in the same situation as me. I use English as my primary and sadly only language, and you know, when I go to a lot of countries, it can be tricky sometimes, it can be really easy sometimes. Where does Istanbul, where does Turkey fit on that list so far? And so yeah, right now I'm on the Asian side, just to mention, because it's a place between 2 continents, and it really feels that way in terms of where it is. Like, it's one of the harder European countries to get by with just English. Like, sometimes you get some real weird looks and some real hard time. Everyone gets the basics in the most touristy areas, but outside of that you get a struggle sometimes if it's not the most basic of a request that person can do. And so as a result, I have someone, a subscriber, who helped me out with the area, and one of the things they recommended, they're like, you have to do this, Iskender kebab. So this is the place specifically recommended, and I think that's pretty useful in places where you're not so familiar with the language. It can be really easy to be taken advantage of. I actually have had that happen in this last week for the first time, and so I just wanted to mention, like, hey, this is a place that was specifically recommended for the Iskender kebab, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to try a kebab, but as the locals enjoy it. So this is an Iskender kebab, apparently. So if you don't know, there's a whole story, and you know, I'm going to assume you don't know, that it's apparently goes back to a family called Iskender. They made a particular type of kebab that had some yogurt on, that had some tomato sauce, which is not a traditional part of it, as well as some, I think it's either sheep or goat butter. It's like a unique type of butter that they throw on the top of there, which they did throw on here. It was like out of a pan. It looked very cool. But again, it's not what you'd think of as a traditional kebab. Honestly, I was very confused. They even said on the menu, like, something with pita, and then like, this is the pita that goes with it. So it's very, very different in format to what you're used to and what I'm used to or even expecting. But I'm very excited to try this. It is looking mighty good. So we're gonna grab some meat. We're gonna grab some yogurt, I believe. Again, not a combination I've explored too much in my past life. Okay, so meat's good. Meat is tasty. Could just eat a plate of that, sure. Yogurt and meat, especially the tomato sauce thing, it's not going too well in my opinion. I'm gonna hope that it's saved. Also, oh no, there is something else down here. But I'm gonna hope that it's saved on this second bite. But like, can't say I'm a massive fan yet, but maybe the bread, get a little, wait, I'm gonna scoop a little bit of meat onto the bread, even though it's a stick, which is confusing. I'm gonna throw this, actually not, I'll just throw a bite of this. Ooh. So, until now, I've just been like waiting, like, or suffering through it. All of a sudden there was like this bite of like, ooh, something's up here, something new has happened. There was like a unique flavour in a food that I was going for, and I think maybe the bitter was down the bottom. I think maybe there's something to this actually. Let's try again, let's try and get the yogurt ratio just right. It's not the greatest thing I've ever tried. So many people are like, yeah, this is the thing you gotta go for in Istanbul. But as far as like an interesting kebab, this is the one. It's kind of sad because, I don't mean it's sad, like my brain is therefore like, oh yeah, you know what, therefore the better type of kebab is just the standard one that's just meat in a little roll or whatever. Because I had a couple of those this week, those were both great. But I think this is an interesting thing to try. But it's not, I can see why it's not the primary form. It's a very interesting little type. I think sitting down eating in a restaurant also a very interesting way of doing things. The format is confusing, the tastes are confusing, but overall it adds up to make something I'm going to enjoy eating, which is nice to say at least. So I'll get back to it at the end of the meal if anything changes, but so far I've never been so confused, which is good. So for the record, that was like pretty good overall. I would say it wasn't the best value for money that I've had in Istanbul, but it was a tasty thing. But the crazy thing is just the wide variety of things that are called kebab. I mean, in the outside of Turkey, I guess, outside the Middle East, there's only really one thing that's called a kebab, and it's like meat in some bread, and sometimes just meat on a skewer. But here, so many things are described that way. I had this giant platter of food with a bunch of dips and sides, and it had some, the food came on skewers. That was a kebab. I had like the traditional bread and some meat and some fries. That's a kebab. No fries, still a kebab. Add some vegetables, still a kebab. And then there's this thing which is just meat on a platter with some yogurt and some butter, still a kebab. And therefore the vague definition of kebab must be anything with lamb meat, or even there's chicken kebabs though, so anything with meat. But even then, there's non-meat kebabs, which makes the definition seem to me like it's just, anything that is vaguely meat-ish, like sort of sometimes, or whatever you want to call a kebab is a kebab, and I think that's a wacky rule, but it seems to be what it is. But yeah, let's go to the next piece of Turkish food, shall we? Isn't it pretty at night, by the way? Actually, I don't know how pretty it is on the camera. Let me look. Yeah, it's a pretty night tonight, but it won't be tomorrow morning, or realistically in a few days, when this food comes to you. What is next, actually? I think it's the hamburger. Oh, when this next food comes to you, this exciting Islak hamburger, which incidentally comes from a kebab shop, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay, so something that strikes me as a little bit ridiculous, but I've been seeing all over Istanbul, is something called a wet burger. I keep seeing these and I thought like, they're really cheap, so I guess it's just like burgers that got wet that they're deciding to sell at a discount. But I've saw them enough times, I'm like, there's something to this. And I looked it up, and apparently the wet hamburger, the official name is a Islak burger. It looks like this. This is, apparently something that started here in Taksim Square. It's kind of the center of like tourism here in Turkey, you could say. And back there you can see there's just dollar stands, open 24/7. All of them are selling it, and this is where the idea originated. They're like, oh yeah, we'll put a hamburger in a bun. They put some sauce in there. It's vaguely tomatoey and minty, and then they seal up the thing and they steam it. It is a steamed burger. It's kind of like a combination, therefore, of the westernized hamburger with like bao buns, I guess. It almost feels like. And if you bite into it, you can really see that where it's like soggy on the outside, but very much normal on the inside, but very, very tomatoey, almost like that raw meatball. It is a delicious thing to behold. And for 6 lira, less than $1, about 80 cents. The 6 lira is such a treat. It's kind of like a slider where like, I feel like instead of just eating one, you'd realistically go for 2 or 3 or 4. But it's so good. It is so good. It's, again, basic snack, but I feel like the basic snacks are the ones that make an impact sometimes. And even though this is clearly some foreign-inspired food, I mean the hamburger existed at the point this came out, this is something you have to try while you're in Istanbul. It's basic, but it's good. Speaking of things that are basic, it's good. I've had baklava a couple of times in my life before. But one of the things that a guy literally last night was just walking and talking. He's from Turkish Cyprus, the north half of the island, that controversial thing. I had a few questions about that, but he just he cut off the conversation. He's like, baklava, you try it? And I'm like, I have, pretty good. And he's like, you go try it after lunch. And I was like, okay, I had a wet hamburger for lunch. Now we're gonna try some baklava and see if it's even better, because I love me some baklava, and that's what we're gonna do. They assume there's 2 of me here. Oh yeah, I'm gonna share the baklava. No, this is all for me. So yeah, baklava is a very, very sweet dessert. I don't know all of the origin behind it, but I do know it tastes very interesting. It's like a pastry, but the sweetest pastry you've ever had. This legitimately looks like a miniature sausage roll, but there is no sausage. There is just, it's sweet, and it's nutty, and it's pastry. Apparently there's some honey in there, which gives it the serious sweetness. It's insanely sweet, and it's also an insanely old snack. Like, this isn't a newfound thing like the Islak hamburger, which is, in the last, 30, 40 years. If you try it, baklava is one of those things that dates back a couple hundred years, and it's so good you can see why. I don't know the difference between any of this stuff. It all just tastes the same, nutty, sweet, delicious, and I don't know if you can tell, but I really like sweet things. And baklava delivers in spades. So yeah, Islak hamburger, crazy cheap, crazy good. You might even want to have 2 or 3. And the baklava, something I also really like. And yeah, that kind of brings me near the end of today's video. So to finish off the video, we'll do something that everyone recommends, even though it's not necessarily too much Turkish food. It's more fun presentation, because here in Istanbul they have this Turkish fun ice cream display that I'm not looking forward to, but let's go into it anyway. You'll see why in a second. Ice cream. I really love this. Hey. Oh. Where are you from? England. Thank you. Buyurun. Oh. Small, middle, big? Small, middle, big? Let's go middle. Medium? Yeah. Vanilla, chocolate, lemon, chocolate. Buyurun. Maşallah. Al bakalım. Thank you. Hello. Tur.
Give a gosh.
Take it. So it is just worth mentioning that Turkish ice cream is technically slightly different. It's meant to be very different in consistency, so you know, that's worth it. Worth the magic trick and fun that went along with that. Again, if you don't like being caught on the spot, I'd recommend that you do it anyway. But otherwise, there's plenty of Turkish food. I hope you'll enjoy this video. We'll be going through it, and I guess I'll see you all in some other one. Because apparently there's food videos on this channel now. Yeah, you didn't see that coming, did you? Second channel, take care, bye.